everybody. Welcome back. It's another edition of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. It is even more of a special one because it's an all-Michigan Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, the state, not the school. We are here as cold as absolute hell to talk about Eintracht Frankfurt and this Bundesliga podcast covering everything about Eintracht Frankfurt in the English language, which is not only the greatest team in the Bundesliga, our favorite team in the Bundesliga, the best ever first half in their history of the Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt. Damn right. Garret Komatz here in the southeast mid part of the mid-end. It is, like I said, it's winter, it's cold, it's picturesque outside, but Eintracht Frankfurt are the opposite of cold. They are getting hot. So joining me for this discussion of the hot Eintracht Frankfurt, in the middle of the mid-end, probably as cold if not colder, was definitely in a cold part in Chicago this past weekend for the first of the two matches back. My brother and brother, Chris Monroe. How are you this evening?
You know, dude, I don't know if it's colder here, but it's definitely snowier. We've been getting pounded for about 3 straight days now, and I absolutely love it. I'm the guy out there, you know, pumping gas with shorts on, and I ordered a iced latte from Big B the other day. It's just, this is my time of year to shine. And before we go any further, since it is an all Michigan podcast, we're just going to talk about Michigan sports for a minute because, you know, Brian gave us this phenomenal platform, and I don't care how many people tune out for the next 5 minutes. We're going to talk about just how great the state of Michigan is, because for people that don't know, you and I were just talking about it off the air. We are historically one of the worst sports cities in all of America. Across all sports, we have incredibly historic teams that just love to lose. But right now, we're in a great mood. I'm wearing the Honolulu blue and silver. I'm drinking the Honolulu beer. Like, this is just, it's a good time to be a Detroit sports fan. Your Red Wings are doing their thing. The Pistons are winning. The Tigers are finally off their own heels.
We talked last year, if you remember, about how shitty the Detroit Pistons were. A team that has been big parts of our childhoods, our middle formative years and everything, to then go from the worst, being the absolute worst team in the last few years, to now be over 500 in the first half of the regular season and be in a play-in spot, playing for a playoffs. The way, like I said, and for our Detroit Lions to be a laughingstock to now not only having the best record in the NFC, tied for the best record in the NFL with Brian's Kansas City Chiefs, a Saturday night divisional game against the Washington Commanders, 9.5 point favorites, which scares the absolute shit out of me.
I don't like it.
But at the same time, there's so many, and maybe we are biased when we say this, but there's so many parallels right now that I feel with the teams in our that represent in the big city that represents the state, as well as Eintracht Frankfurt, both on the Manor and the Frauen side.
I'm going to say I'm glad you brought it back to Frankfurt, because we probably lost 90% of the people that are listening. Yep. But there are very important parallels there to historic franchises that underachieve constantly, that constantly trip over their own feet. And, you know, you fall in love with people and moments along the way. But that's why sports is so phenomenal, because you go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And I'm certain we're going to have our heart broken at some point in the next few days. And I'm going to be like, F this, I'm, you know, out of sports forever again. And then in a few weeks, I'll be right back at it, because that's why we love sport. That's why it's so much fun to follow. And the Frankfurt following, man, I tell you, I was in Chicago this weekend for the St. Pauli match. There was a gathering in Chicago for a prospective EFC there. A phenomenal group getting together, some locals from the Chicago area. We're going to make the EFC there happen. But some real good people coming together from around the country. Tom came in from New York. I mean, just a phenomenal group of guys. Oliver coming up from North Carolina, Jason coming down from Madison, which We're going to get together in Madison soon. I'm going to talk about that once we get it finalized. But man, it's just so good to be around like-minded sports people, and that gathering in Chicago around the U.S. Soccer Coaches Conference could not have been a better atmosphere. People walking in and being like, "What's that club on the wall?" And by the end of the match, they're yelling at the TV with us. Just a pretty cool experience.
Also joining us from our friends over at the 50 Plus One Donor podcast, called Centric, Jake as well. As well, it's just fun in a way too, because in their Discord too is a great collective of not just Cologne but other Bundesliga clubs, including other city sports fans of Chicago and Green Bay and other stuff. So to be able to have that like further feeling too of community, I think is a cool vibe, especially in times that we're seeing in the world where community is not a thing. So I think,
and I know we'll talk about it more during the off season, but there were some representatives from FC Cologne there at the gathering we had, and it was neat to hear the perspective of other clubs within the Bundesliga, their thoughts on Eintracht Frankfurt and our fan following that has, an international reputation, and whether that's good or bad kind of goes up and down with the climate around it. But certainly just to know that people are aware of us in the States relative to where we were in total obscurity, maybe, 5 to 7 years ago. It's been a really interesting change. The Eintracht Frankfurt brand has never been bigger in the States. And I'm going to attribute a little bit of that to HalfPod and the way that we continue to evolve and bring in new people and try new things to get our word out there and spread the word about this great club.
Yeah. And we'll kind of roll into that. As people are becoming more known and Eintracht Frankfurt's becoming the highest point that they are in being known in the U.S., they're also now the highest point to finish in the first half of a Bundesliga campaign. We talked about that earlier. We're repeating it again. There were 2 matches that just recently took place. One, as Chris mentioned, was on Saturday at St. Pauli, and then yesterday against Freiburg to close out the first half of the Bundesliga season. St. Pauli at the Millantor saw Eintracht Frankfurt roll away with a 1-0 win via an Omar Marmoush goal in the 32nd minute. Though it was difficult, Eintracht Frankfurt did come in on a little bit of a skid, having their last Bundesliga win being before that December 1st at Heidenheim. Streak ended on there. Yesterday, hosting Freiburg, fell behind early, got an equalizer via Robin Koch header off an Omar Marmoush corner. A man that we'll talk about, obviously, after we talk about the match, because he's a popular guy. He seemed a lot of people want him and love him and stuff. The second half saw an Eintracht Frankfurt takeover. Marmoush in the 65th, recovering his own rebound. Hugo Ekitike being set free by Mario Götze in the 71st minute. And the Mondi Collins, who I think along with Nathaniel Brown may be the biggest revelations of this Eintracht Frankfurt side the first half, get his first Bundesliga goal in the 81st minute via an Omar Marmoush assist, 4-1. I don't recall a Frankfurt performance over Freiburg that got 3 points in convincing fashion like this also too. We talk about things that we haven't seen before. Something we also have started to see a little change in shape these past couple matches. Back 3, trap and goal, Rasmus Christensen moving centrally on the right side, Kalk in the center, Teat on the left, Collins and Brown on the right and left flanks. In the middel, Elias Skiri, Mario Götze, Hugo Larsson, and then Omar Marmoush and Hugo Ekitike up top. Chris, what was your takeaway? How did you feel on the 2 matches? I know you got you had 2 cool, unique, different vantage points. Obviously, watching with everybody the St. Pauli match in Chicago on Saturday, and then I know you were involved in between work and everything. I was watching at my desk and everything on there. What was your thoughts on both? Obviously, was there one that you were more obviously the Freiburg result is probably something you really, really enjoy, but is there anything that really, really stood out to you in either a good or a bad way about these 2 wins?
You know what? I know we're going to have an entire segment about him, but I think Omar Marmoush obviously stands out. All the rumors around him, he showed up ready to play. We didn't know if he was going to be at one or both matches, whether he's going to be around this weekend as we sit here and record on Wednesday night. So many questions from day to day, hour to hour about him. But the guy hasn't let up. He lives and breathes Eintracht right now, and until the moment that he legally cannot play for us, I firmly believe he's wholly invested in this club right now. And the St. Pauli match, I don't think we played that well. And the frustrating part as you talked about, the best first half of the season point-wise in the history of this club, nearly 2 points per match, all good things. But we didn't play well against St. Pauli early. And that's something that concerned me a little bit because for as good as we've been, we dropped a lot of points to bad sides. And we could be sitting better than third. I think we could be pushing a little closer to second if we hadn't made a lot of those unforced errors earlier in the year. But I'm glad that we came out of the break and saw Omar Marmoush do what he did with all the questions that were on the line. For me, you talked about Nathaniel Brown getting better. I think Goetz has played better. But really, it all starts and finishes with Omar Marmoush right now.
Something I'm noticing here, I might have been a little bit, looks like Collins was more the guy in the back three and Christensen on the flank. Might be back and forth, maybe they're taking turns, but we started to see this shape last month in the match at RB Leipzig in the Pokal when Eintracht Frankfurt were forced to make a change due to Arthur Teyat's red card ban in the Pokal. Seems like it took a little bit of time. How do you feel like this current, from what you saw, especially yesterday, in the second half and really getting into the game, do you feel like this team, we see the best out of this team attacking wise? In that back three, or that can become a back five depending on how the wing backs are going, or do you like the back four?
Yeah, the long and short of it, to me, we're still not a consistent group. The guys never all put it all together on the same day, and that's frustrating. But that's the benefit of having depth in different places, is that guys pick each other up. And I think Christensen just gets better and better. He's looking more comfortable with every match, and he's becoming a real threat down that right side, I think. And that's been a real confidence boost for a guy like Collins to know that he's got someone that can track back and play physical. But as they move down the pitch, he's also got a threat there to move the ball up to. And that right side, which was looking a little questionable early, is suddenly a big threat for us. There's nice balance there. I think Larson is starting to get more comfortable. He's so young, too, that, as he figures things out, he's only getting better. And, you progress from the back to the front, Tiat, Larson, Ekitike on the left, on the right with Collins, Christensen, and Marmoush. It's just really well balanced there. And I think that's part of our success in the first 17 matches in league play, is that we're not one-dimensional like we were a couple years with Kostic when 80% of our attack came through the left side. That's not us anymore. We're left side. We're right side. We still got issues in the center of the pitch for sure. Not satisfied with Shkiri right now, but hey, if we're getting the attack out of the left and right that we are, maybe the center is just there for defensive purposes.
And Shkiri, it looked like yesterday was playing more kind of like the base in that midfield, kind of being a bit further deeper, allowing Goetz and Larson to kind of wreak havoc. Larson with his youthful exuberance and his pace to be able to rampage back and forth, and Goetz with his smarts and play works doing the linking and creativity.
I thought Goetz yesterday looked 10 years younger. That was the kind of a match from him that we were accustomed to 10 years ago, where he was creative, he was facilitating other people, getting them the ball, and then taking shots just quickly from angles, getting them on target too, that really tested the keeper from Freiburg.
We were concerned at first that the haircut of Hugo Ekitike was like the Samson comparison. Really had a shot, close range shot on Saturday that hit the post, but the effort was there. And then yesterday, I thought really got going. That goal just broke free. Do you feel like with Hugo Ekitike right now, we went in? I'm thinking back to when we were previewing the first match of the season and playing Dortmund. That we were thinking that Hugo Ekitike was going to be the absolute stud of studs for this team. And he's had a fantastic first half of the year, 8 goals, 3 assists in the Bundesliga. If you look at also what he is doing in, like, he's he had 3 goals and an assist in the games that we played in the Pokal. Trying to think how many he's got in Europe in the Europa League. But then Omar Marmoush has obviously had a first half of first halves on there. Do you feel like we're about to see the best of Hugo Ekitike in this half, or just like I'm curious to see like how much like he's getting that groove going. I think he's in a good space, but I'm really like like he's been great right now. But are we about to see something really amazing in the second half, or is it just like?
Yeah, I'm still getting used to this camera thing because I keep going over to check what's going on in the basketball world. So my apologies for being distracted. But I think as far as Ekitike, the glimpses of hope that we saw out of him last year were mostly individual efforts, dribbling, turning, creating shots on his own. I think what we've seen this year is the development in his game and in his comfort level with Omar Marmoush. They work really well off of each other. They're always on the ball looking for the other or off the ball looking to get open. And I think that's helped to bring other guys up to speed, like Larson and Christensen too. But I think Ekitike has learned as he's aged with us in less than a calendar year how to make his game more dynamic. Now, I do worry if Marmoush does leave. I worry what that will do to Ekitike, if it will set him back, if he'll feel the weight of it, like he has to do all the creation on his own again, like he did for his goals last spring. I guess that remains to be seen. But honestly, I'm not too worried about Ekitike. From all accounts, he's beloved by his teammates. He's engaged with them. He's probably got the highest profile on the team, and that includes Marmoush, just for the following that Ekitike has back in France, and people have followed his development after his move here from PSG. He's probably still the biggest name on our books, maybe not counting Trapp and Götze for their historic acclaim, but I'm not really too worried about Ekitike. I think he'll find a role that can best contribute to this group.
So I suppose maybe let's break in the transfer talk briefly on there, because I don't want to.
Oh boy.
This. I've talked about this a little bit before. I don't just have my allegiance to German Eagles. I have an allegiance to English Eagles and Crystal Palace 2-0 winners today with Oliver Glasner. So I'm used to transfer talk. I've transfer windows to me in transfer discussion. I'm desensitized to it because it is like it's like politics in this country, and dare I say the world. It's fucking silly, and and as much as it's reported to be real, a lot of it's like pro wrestling and fake until the moment comes. Right. Obviously, the big news right now in Eintracht Frankfurt world is Omar Marmoush linked with Manchester City, amongst other clubs. It's not just one club probably in the world. Manchester City's made some offers in. Eintracht Frankfurt seemed to be wanting €80 million, which, to us may be a little bit surprising, obviously considering that how much the man who will not be mentioned went for August of 2023. But as you mentioned, Chris, Omar Marmoush is still playing in and out with this club, still giving his all for Eintracht Frankfurt. I do wonder, one name we haven't seen in the squad last couple is Eric Dina and Bimbe. I know he's been linked multiple windows within the last window, so with Galatasaray. Simon Simoni went out on loan to Kaiserslautern. which I know producer Nathan really enjoyed that based off of our discussion in Discord today. And there's been questions maybe about Tuta, especially now with not being a regular in these last couple matches in the starting lineup, an 81st minute sub yesterday. My brief, before I get it to you, Chris, on here, my thought on Marmoush is this. Until there's an official announcement from Eintracht Frankfurt or it's announced that he is not in the squad on our next matchup on Friday or whenever that is on this window, Omar Marmoush is still a contractually obligated Eintracht Frankfurt player, and he seems to be, like I said, bought in, encouraged, motivated. But €80 million, or if we get close to that in this time frame, is also very, very damn good of a quick cash boost. However, Eintracht Frankfurt are in their best position after the first half, gunning for a Champions League spot, and still has a very good, strong possibility of taking the Europa League. Where do you stand on that? How you feel about that? What do you think is going to be that? And then Tuta or anyone else I forgot in this about transfer discussion.
Well, I'm going to obviously start with Marmoush. Yeah, we talked about it. I talked about it. You just mentioned it. His heart's in it here. He's going to stick with it here as long as he's asked to. I tend to side with players on these transfers. If he wants to go, I want to facilitate that because it sets a bad precedent for future players trying to sign here if we don't allow them to go when they want to. But by all accounts, Marmoush understands the situation. All of his interactions have been positive with teammates. There's no reason to think he would become a cancer in the locker room if we said, hey, it's not the right time right now, but we're going to send you on the way in the summer. If Man City wants you, I'm sure they could work that deal out now and leave him here. However those things play out, I'm not too concerned about Marmoush becoming a cancer in the locker room. Kind of like RKM was when he turned into a whiny baby the last 48 hours of his time here.
A lot nicer than what I said in the Discord last night.
Yes, exactly. There's probably a kid watching somewhere in Ireland, so I want to make sure that I use the proper grammar there. Yeah, but you know what? I hesitate to say this because somebody's going to send me a bank statement. We don't need $80 million right now. For the first time,
which means it's closer to $100 million.
Right. For the first time in my lifetime, Eintracht Frankfurt is not broke. And part of that has to do with Marcus Kroesche doing some absolute wonderful work the last couple of years post-COVID when everyone was dying for cash. Everybody not named Man City needed cash. And he turned coal into diamonds with some of these moves. Guys like Jesper Lindstrom he pulled 30 million, I think.
Well, 30 million euro for Jesper Lindstrom, 15 million for Gilles Rousseau on the last year of a contract. Cole Mawani, that's what we talked about. It's like,
I'm not saying we couldn't use the $80 million, or even if we invested a lot of it in new players, that it wouldn't help us out even more. But I'm also a big fan of giving the middle finger to some of these giant clubs and saying, you know what, you want him, but we need him. And I think that would speak a lot to the fans of this club. If they stood up and said, we appreciate the offer, but our goal right now is silverware or in the Pokal. Sorry, not Pokal, in Europa League. There you go. Thanks for the save. But our goal is qualification for Champions League through the league, and Marmoush is an important part of that. So I would, as much as it's hard to turn down $80 million, I would buy a Marcus Kroesche jersey tomorrow if he spurned the offers. And that's not likely to happen. By all accounts, he's going to leave, and that's fine with me. But in the meantime, it's fun for us to sit back and kind of say, this is what we wish. I wish we just give him the double bird and say, go on your way and steal someone else's riches because we're holding on to ours right now.
And to give people who may not be delved into the English Premier League as much as I am, this isn't the Manchester City team that is in line for another title. right now this season. This is a Manchester City side that, as of 21 matches into this Premier League table, out of 38, by the way, they are currently sixth. They are 12 points off of Liverpool's pace. Liverpool have a game in hand, which will be made up in the next few weeks. And a lot blowing a 2-0 2-goal lead yesterday against Brentford. So a team in transition, which I enjoy for the sake of parity. It's like when Bayern Munich finally lost the Bundesliga title. Change is good, folks, in terms of some things, especially for us Detroit sports fans. We're seeing positive change here. We fucking love it.
But Garrett, also to that point, this isn't Manchester City, finding a team that's lower in the table that could use a cash infusion for next year.
No,
this is Manchester City reaching onto the bench of somebody who's striving for the top. The top of the table is probably out of reach, but our goals of qualification, our goals of Europa Cup are still on the table. And I think it would say more to the culture of our club if we spurn this offer. Now, that's up to Marmoush. It's not up to us, in my opinion. If he wants to go, we owe that to him to make it work. But if he's willing to stick around, I'd say, hey, we will sell you to whomever you want to go to come June 1st. But we need you to help us get us the rest of the way.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting. The window in Germany goes till early February, if I'm not mistaken, right? February 3rd.
Stupid. Can we just have a universal window?
Although the move for the Premier League, they need to be done with their business in January. So for incoming transfers. So my advice to people is, you think you're going to read an article about transfer moves coming in that's official? Nothing's yet. Until you hear an announcement from a club or relatively on that, that's when you know shit's about to go down. And to highlight also how, real quick, just because of the validation, is it justification, validation? Randall Colomani, who left Eintracht Frankfurt for 100 million euro, if I'm not mistaken, in August of 2023, is now in transfer talks to be leaving PSG for our multiple clubs for half of that cost.
Garrett, what do we always say about the grass on the other side of the fence?
Maybe he wasn't Zus Magnifique after all, except it was the Frankfurt system form that was Zus Magnifique.
It just goes to show the list of players that have left for greener pastures and fallen on their face, or I'm not even going to say fall on their face, because some have had moderate success or they go and make their money. But when you come to Eintracht Frankfurt in the last few years and you play through the end of your contract, usually something good happens along the way. You go ride the pine at Juve or Barcelona or Real Madrid or PSG. You can go ride the pine. You can collect a bigger paycheck. Be part of something special. Be part of something unique. Be part of something that's bigger than the Middle Eastern airline on your chest. That's all I'm saying.
Real last thing before we tie into continuing on in discussion. Do you want to let's have your statement on Saturday? St. Pauli in the ultra section. Eintracht Frankfurt put out a statement on Sunday of some basically fan banners that we are not thrilled of, especially when people have come to know Eintracht Frankfurt and Eintracht Frankfurt ultra supporters for completely different stances over the years. Chris, I'll kind of hand it to you for your take to describe further in your take.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to give it the expletive tag for the show. And children everywhere, earmuffs, kids, fast forward, parents, fast forward 30 seconds. Fuck off. We don't want those people representing this club. Now, I respect everyone's right to free speech, and I think that everyone deserves the right to speak their mind, to say what they feel. But hate speech and degradation is not something that our club stands for. And I think the club did a great job getting ahead of this. There's a pretty large wave of right-wing politics going through Europe and giving everyone
honest.
and throughout the world. But it's not about left wing or right wing. It's about just being a good person. And hate speech crosses all those lines of free speech. Free speech does not entitle hate speech. And as everyone uses their platform for good or bad or whatever, we don't want Eintracht Frankfurt's platform to be hijacked by people that hold hate in their heart. And I thought the club has made their stance very clear over the last few years and put it out there that they absolutely will not stand for it. They won't tolerate it. And for all the things we have to get mad at our club about over the years, we never have to question their stance on issues of being on the right side of hatred. So, yeah,
Agreed.
I'm confident with the way the club handled it.
And I will say also this too. I know there's been talks about whether it's ultras or fans taking an air quote anti-political stance. Anti-political stance does not give the opportunity to spew hate speech.
Yes. I respect those that say that, football doesn't need to be a platform for politics, but a lot of the issues that are being brought up across the sports landscape, it's not politics. Issues of human rights are not a political issue. Gender rights are not a political issue. Issues of race and race intimidation, that's not a political issue. That's a moral issue. It's an ethical issue. It is not politics. So to stand on the platform that Eintracht Frankfurt has, or that our ultras have, there are some political stances that don't need to be in the game. But as it stands for standing up for human rights and the rights of people to be free and make their choices, that's something that I don't believe we need to sit on the sidelines.
No. So hopefully this is unfortunate that this incident happened. Hopefully this is just a one-time incident, especially when you look at like being an away match and, different people, maybe the usual is not on there, but it is something to take note of. And, nothing that's worth that we shouldn't be sitting by to decide for, because I'm sure while Peter Fischer is not someone who's in the charge, if Peter Fischer was there, he would have probably wanted to nut punch and rip the throat out of anyone that was probably wanting to do that. So, there's my expletive of one of many expletives, because I'm a walking expletive tag on this podcast. I think with that, we've gotten the heavy out of the way. Let's talk about the not so heavy, unless it's percentage wise. What are we eating? What are we drinking? I know you've imbibed lately. You've had fun taking in the world.
You know what?
In the holidays the last couple of weeks. Fill us in.
So, my first trip to Chicago, I talked about my exploits there when I was on with John last week, but had another great trip to Chicago and all the good food that entails. But my favorite place is right down the street, a grocery store that has gone viral millions of times over on the internet over the last couple of years, a wonderful grocery store called Horrocks. Some have called it the greatest grocery store in the world. You can drink beer while you shop, and they've got a wine bar right in it is literally the greatest grocery store on earth. Just Google Horrocks Lansing, you'll figure it out. But they have a soup bar. And I have fallen in love with the potato bacon soup on their soup bar. And,
a winter staple in Michigan.
Yes, it is cold. I have shoveled 3 homes along my block because I got the snowblower thing. I don't like it. I'm still young. I'm 40. I'm going to get out there and shovel. 3 hours into shoveling the 3 homes here, I got a little cold. So I ran over to Horrocks, got me a nice tub of the potato bacon soup, and man, did that warm the soul. And of course, I had to wash it down with the Honolulu Blue and Black Bud Lights in support of our Lions. But you know what? The food is good. The drinks are plenty. Yeah, it's just a good time. There's always ways to warm yourself up. Everyone's like, oh, I can't deal with the cold you guys have up there. Well, I can't deal with the heat they got down there. So I'm pretty content here with my hot soup and cold beer.
I have had the pleasure of through the Christmas holidays and family eating well. Shout out to Jam Jam, who we both know, had some extra chili that I've been having lately during the day. There's been a chili with sweet potato in it, a little bit of spicy kick, hits the damn spot. And then I know tomorrow, my coworker, who's a very good chef on his own right, we're unthawing a damn turkey, a 17-pound turkey to have at work tomorrow, with like some mashed potatoes and stuff. So I'm pumped for that. I got
a question about that. I got a question for you. Are you guys all blocking off like an hour in the afternoon for nap time? All the tryptophan in that turkey is going to put you guys down for the count.
Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But one thing that I do know, I was going to get KFC tonight just to, as another inside joke to producer Nathan, because he was going off about KFC looking like Kaiserslautern, and I was like, what do you got against KFC, when I said our kits kind of look like not only the Marlboro kits, but KFC stuff. But considering that I've already inside him joked once with the latest recap, the Adler, check it out. You might notice some background music. I won't talk about it right now in case we get a copyright notice.
You're going to get us sued.
Yeah. I had Wendy's tonight because you get a free 6-piece nugget with a purchase there on Wednesday. So had part of that now. Have it.
Okay.
The rest of it
once
after.
Again, if somebody from Wendy's is watching, we pimp your product here on a weekly basis. Garrett does. Somebody from Wendy's, show this guy some love.
I'm not gonna lie. When you updated the halfpod.com website and you did the about, I did laugh when you're like keeping Wendy's in business. So
I will say that Wendy's social media, you got to stay on their good side. You get on their bad side, and they will roast you like that turkey you're going to eat at work tomorrow.
So a lot of fun going on right now. So whatever you're eating, whatever you're drinking right now, we say cheers, prost, and we hope for wishes of good health. So now that that's done and out of the way, because this is a video version, audio version, and that we keep going. Going to talk real quick now about the around the Bundesliga of the last 2 match days. So let's go in. We're going to talk about match day 16. We've already talked about the Eintracht Frankfurt results. Last Friday, January 10th, opened up Borussia Dortmund 2, Bayer Leverkusen 3. And then Saturday had FC Heidenheim 2, Union Berlin 0. Freiburg 3, Holstein Kiel 2, although Freiburg had a 3-0 lead and Holstein Kiel almost came back. Hoffenheim 0, Wolfsburg 1, in a game that was about as empty as how Hoffenheim feels about their season. Mainz 2, Bochum 0. Burkhardt, I believe, went down injured in that matchup for Mainz. Bundesliga highlight show, I didn't know if they updated it, but I went to go check it out on Sunday night. Instead of being 50 minutes, it was only 30, and they had 3 or 4 matches not kicked out. So never change Bundesliga, never change. Then the midday after, so Borussia Mönchengladbach 0, Bayern Munich 1 via Harry Kane penalty. Sunday saw RB Leipzig 4, Werder Bremen 2, Augsburg 0, Stuttgart 1. Yesterday started off great in the banter factory. Holstein Kiel 4, Borussia Dortmund 2. Holstein Kiel had a 3-0 lead. Bayer Leverkusen 1, Mainz 0. Wolfsburg 5, Borussia Mönchengladbach 1. Mönchengladbach I'm not going to say the Bayern Munich flu is as bad as the Honolulu flu. Sorry to all of our Minnesota folk that watch it, but also we're not fucking sorry. And then today saw Bochum continue their warm form, 1-0 over St. Pauli. Bayern Munich 5, Hoffenheim 0. Even better, I haven't checked it out what producer Nathan dropped. Andre Kramaric had an interview post-match with Archie. I forget his whole last name on ESPN, but go check it out.
Archie.
It's online.
Yeah.
That's just Archie. Union Berlin 0, Augsburg 2. So Union dropping both matches with Stefan Baumgart now in charge. VfB Stuttgart came from behind today to win 2-1 over RB Leipzig, and RB Leipzig also had double yellows for both Benjamin Šeško and Louis Openda. Ooh, sucks to suck. Werder Bremen 3, Heidenheim 3 to round out the day. So, any surprises for you on any of these past 2 match days?
I'd like to say I'm surprised by Kiel over Dortmund, but I think John and I talked a bit about Dortmund on the last episode, and nothing's changed. They're in an absolute tailspin right now. I don't know where it ends. I just hope it's not this coming weekend. Friday afternoon would be a bad time for them to find their form. But no, I mean, 2 teams for me did not wake up after the winter pause. That's Dortmund, and the other one is Union Berlin. They just another instance of guys, we need points to solidify our position mid-table, and they can't do it. I mean, especially with that Bochum victory, which was unexpected. But suddenly they've won 2 of their last 3. They're sitting on 9 points. They're 5 points out of that 16 spot for the playoff. And with
3.
half the season
3.
to go. Oh,
3 now.
Yep. Bad math on my part. So with 17 matches to play, they're not looking so bad as far as their ability to save themselves. We thought it was going to be a 2-team race trying to avoid that, but right now that relegation playoff looks pretty much wide open. I think we're starting to see a little bit of separation in the table, even though there's a lot of teams that are right on our heels. With Leipzig sitting at 30, I'm going to draw that line at 27 points. Freiburg, Wolfsburg, Mainz, Stuttgart, Leipzig, Frankfurt, Leverkusen, and Bayern. I think those are the 8 teams that are fighting for Europe right now. Werder Bremen, Borussia Dortmund, they dug too much of a hole early. Dortmund, everyone's talking about their tailspin, but Werder Bremen coming out of the break with a draw and a loss is not going to help them either, trying to fight for Europe. And they don't have nearly the legs that Dortmund has.
Hoffenheim in the playoff spot now, seeming to the I forget, I'm dropping the name, Ilzer from Sturm Graz. Obviously it was a good move by them, and obviously they brought in, but as you can tell, this team's hasn't kicked in. Talked about the Kramerstein. They're in the promotion relegation spot right now. Dare we say, with Holstein Kiel and Bochum now 3 points behind them, is it curtains?
I can't say that yet. They've been winless for a while, but there's so many bad teams right now. And anybody in that bottom 6 teams right now, just a few weeks in a row of bad play or a couple weeks of good play, like you've seen from Bochum here, 2 of their last 3. Holstein Kiel, 2 wins in their last 3. Just that 3-week stretch of decent play can be enough to flip the bottom of the table around. So I don't think they're there yet. I think there's a lot of fight left though, and like we look at the top of the 2 Bundesliga as an interesting way to finish. That's what the bottom of this table always is, that fight to get to that 16 spot. Somebody is going to play with desperation. My money is on Holstein Kiel. I think that they're starting to play a little better because they kept their roster together last year. And while it took a little bit to get up to Bundesliga speed, now that they understand the dynamic of the league a little better, I think they're finding their form. And, I'm not going to say they're going to make any crazy run, but I picked them to be the promoted team that stays safe this year, and I'm still going to stick with that.
Real quick I'm going to name the top part of the table for Zwei Bundesliga before naming the top part. Kaiserslautern in 9th with 26, Fortuna Düsseldorf 26, Hanover in 7th with 27, Paderborn in 6th, 28, Magdeburg, who Eintracht Frankfurt folks will remember from previous Pokal, 5th and 28th. Also our continued, I'll hope all of Magdeburg are doing as well with what happened just before Christmas. On there, Elversberg in 4th with 28. So from 4th to 9th, you have a 2-point gap. And then 3rd is Hamburg in 28, the old dinosaur. 2nd, Karlsruhe with 29. And top of the Zweite Bundesliga, for our dear friends at the 50-plus donor, FC Köln. Don't fuck this up, boys. Because,
I don't think Cologne will, but you know who's going to fuck up promotion?
Hamburg's going to fuck up. We know that.
Every year. You can set your clock by it. Come May, they're going to fall apart in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, it'll be very, very interesting to see how that all plays out. Now let's go to the Bundesliga table before we preview this weekend. Bochum, 2 out of 3 in a row. They are bottom still at 11 points, but with a lot more hope and a lot more life. Holstein Kiel also on 11 points, 2 wins out of their last 3, looking like they're scoring goals now. Our fearless leader, Brian, has talked about Kiel in the wintertime being a very, very difficult place to play. And it looked like it in Dortmund last night. A lot of fog, a lot of cold, maybe a miserable. That might benefit this side for anyone that hasn't gone to that place yet in the second half of the season. Hoffenheim, as mentioned, there is a 3-way tie at 14 points from 16th to 14th. Hoffenheim hold that promotion relegation spot right now. And then Heidenheim above them, who have started to get some points again, starting to get that rhythm going. Then St. Pauli, also in there, who I'm surprised. St. Pauli have scored only 12 goals in 17 games. They've created chances. We saw that when we saw them play on Saturday. However, they have the tied for second best defensive record in the Bundesliga, allowing only 21 goals. So unfortunately for them, they're not getting production right now. If they did, they'd be a lot higher up in the table. Union Berlin, however,
consider too that 6 of their goals came across 2 matches, and that almost makes it worse for you.
Yeah. Now in that race, now in that fight, unfortunately for the bottom half of the Bundesliga is for them is Union Berlin, who the Stauffenberg move has not exactly been prosperous in there so far. This is the 3rd managerial change. The Union Berlin's actually this is maybe their 4th managerial change, because I think they made 3 changes last year, or they had 3 managers last year, and now Bo Svensson, so they've had 3 changes. Yeah, so it's very interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see how they react to that. A team that, like St. Pauli, hasn't scored. They've only scored 13 goals in 17 games so far. Augsburg are in 12th with 19 points. Borussia Mönchengladbach in 11th with 24 points. Borussia Dortmund in 10th. 25 points.
That's a mid-table giant.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Dortmund. We've seen this from them before. I still know that at some point they're going to turn it on and move their way up the table, win 4 out of 5 or something like that to just make a rush. The teams in front of them are not playing that great. They're just not. There's going to be plenty of points available for them. They might struggle to get up into one of those Champions League spots with the hole they dug, but I have no doubt Dortmund's going to make their way back into Europe.
What are Borussia Dortmund more like this year, the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers for our NFL fans here?
I'm going to say the 49ers because it's been a little bit more of circumstance, some guys beaten up and injured, just, a bad run of form here and there. Whereas the Cowboys, they're just a name that was good 30 years ago. Dortmund's had good squads in recent years. If you want to talk about, someone that was good 30 years ago, that's, I don't know, Wolfsburg?
Wolfsburg's like 15, 20. Maybe Werder Bremen 35, 40 years ago when they used to be perennial in the 80s and Mönchengladbach in the 70s.
Yeah. But, you're a has-been that people
Bremen
only
too.
know your name. Yeah.
Bremen's actually a good one because they're currently in 9th with 26 points, a far cry from their 90s and 2000s teams as well, because that was my introduction to Bundesliga around 2000 World Cup Germany, and those teams Werder Bremen had. Freiburg in 8th with 27. Seems to be on the cusp. They showed that they have the ability to attack and create, but you can also tear them apart in certain matches, and that's happened multiple times for them this year. Wolfsburg in 7th. They started off rough, getting into a little bit of a rhythm. They have a bit of multiple attacking options. might still be in a darling in 6th, although Burkhart injured. Can they keep this momentum going? That will be interesting. A team that is getting to kind of like right closer to where we thought they were going to be, VfB Stuttgart now. They're in 5th. 29 points, getting going. RB only a point behind RB Leipzig now, who have dropped points after losing to Stuttgart today. 3rd place, I mean, Eintracht Frankfurt, 33 points, enough said. 40 goals scored, 3rd best goal scored in the Bundesliga. Team that scored one more than them is in 2nd place, and that's Bayer Leverkusen with 38 points, who are also getting going and are also becoming more and more and more like we thought that they were going to be. 4 points ahead of them, top of the table, Bayern Munich, 42 points. We know those two teams have to play each other in a few match days.
A couple points on that top 4. I think everyone expected Leipzig to be a little bit stronger than they have been, especially losing 2 of their last 3. I expected them to be title contenders with Leverkusen. I think everyone expected Bayern to come back with a stronger punch this year. I'm not sure we expected them to punch as hard as they have. I had Leverkusen repeating, but it's really hard to see Bayern losing their lead that they built up right now. I mean, if they can keep scoring goals as prolifically as they have and only allowing 13 goals through 17 matches, that's a title-winning run right there. I'm going to go eat a bar of soap after this because I feel disgusting mentioning that. But Bayern has been far and away the most consistent team in the Bundesliga so far.
I feel like that if I recall my predictions right in August, I think I had Dortmund 6th, Leipzig 5th, Frankfurt 4th, Stuttgart 3rd, Leverkusen, Bayern, Leverkusen. I think that was my 5. That was my tops. For Stuttgart to get into that spot, Eintracht Frankfurt's going to have to drop. Would need to drop, and we damn sure hope not right now with as great as this season has been. But Stuttgart kicking and going, especially now with likely being done with champion, especially with let me see with that being with their Champions League being uncertainty with their things, that will be an interesting second half for them. This weekend, and then we'll preview our thing Friday. Starts off Eintracht Frankfurt Borussia Dortmund Friday 2:30. Saturday Bayern Wolfsburg 9:30. Bochum Leipzig, Heidenheim St. Pauli, Holstein Kiel Hoffenheim. That is a big 6-pointer in the bottom. Even Heidenheim St. Pauli too. Stuttgart Freiburg 9:30, 12:30. Bayer Leverkusen Borussia Mönchengladbach. Going into Sunday, Union Berlin Mainz, and then Werder Bremen Augsburg at 11:30. So now it's time to talk our matchup. That starts off match day 17, our first Friday matchup of Bundesliga play this year. We talked about Detroit's, and another good parallel. I was actually thinking about this for the drive home. The last time Eintracht Frankfurt defeated Borussia Dortmund at the Waldstadion, Thanksgiving weekend of 2016. Also a win earlier in the 2016 calendar year, if Brian's recalled, right? Because that was massive for Eintracht Frankfurt to get to the promotion relegation playoff to survive that season. A lot's changed in 8 years. And similar to our Detroit sports teams that have disappointed us but now punching above weight and being maybe a favorite situation, is there ever a better time for Eintracht Frankfurt to host Borussia Dortmund than this Friday?
Yes. Short answer, yes, but I'll expand on that. I was at that 2016 matchup, the 2-0 victory.
One of 2016, the survival season.
Yeah, the survival season. One of those victories. It was unexpected in that heroic saving of a season. But here's why I'm a little bit concerned. And there's a bumblebee joke to be made here, but don't mess with the bee when the bee is injured, or you get stung. And I'm a little bit concerned right now. Now, the reason that I'm confident in Eintracht this weekend is that this is a revenge match. We all remember what happened on match day 1 when we outplayed them in front of the yellow wall. I'll take that to my grave. We outplayed them in that match. And the only reason that they took it away, we were going down on scoring chances twice, and fortuitous bounces in Dortmund's favor end up with long breakout passes that lead to goals. But Frankfurt outplayed them in that match on the road. We were the better side then. We're the better side right now. I want to reserve judgment to know if Omar Marmoush is still going to be on our roster Friday afternoon. If anyone from the club is listening and can get word to Marcus Kroesche, I will put in a record order in the history of the club shop online. If you will just please keep Omar Marmoush through Friday afternoon. He can sell him off to Manchester City come Saturday morning. But, I think this is a critical match for us to pick up 3 points on the road. And as we talked about dropping points to lower teams in the table, this is one of those teams that thinks they can catch us. If you want to drop points, do it to Leverkusen, do it to Bayern. That doesn't hurt us. What hurts us is the teams that are chasing us and are within reach of us. And Dortmund is not far enough behind that they think they're out of it. So they're going to come out guns blazing. They have had recent success at our pitch. So it's important for us to get out front. And Marmoush goal in the first 10 minutes will go a long way to calming everybody down.
This reminds me personally a lot of the Lions winning in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, avenging the NFC title game, the Niners team that was out of the playoffs, but you still had that bad taste in your mouth. It's been plenty of bad taste with Dortmund over the years. Plenty of bad, even this season. That Shaibi miss to Jamie Giddens. I've seen Jamie Giddens score the same fucking goal how many times this season? Inside, does it with his right foot. He's going to do it again on Friday because we're not going to get a clean sheet, but we're going to win. Maybe it's this cold weather creating this spark in me, because to survive a Michigan winter, you got to be tough in the soul, tough in the mind, and a belief. I'm going to believe. I believe we're going to beat Eintracht. We're going to end our damn losing skid to Borussia Dortmund in the Waldstadion. Omar Marmoush gets one. Hugo Ekitike gets one. And you know what? Rasmus Christensen gets off it, and he gets his first Eintracht. He gets it. Actually, no. Has Christensen scored this year in the Bundesliga? But he scores. He scores. I was thinking Nathaniel Brown earlier today, but I'm going to go Christensen. Get ready to celebrate, folks. Eintracht Frankfurt 3, Borussia Dortmund 1, because Nuri Sahin is still going to be managing. And so I don't think there's going to be a new manager bounce yet for Dortmund.
No, I don't think so. So I did something bold a couple weeks ago, and I predicted a clean sheet over St. Pauli. And a couple of you guys were so gracious to remind me I'm banned from picking clean sheets. I did it when Brian was looking the other way. He's probably going to, dock my paycheck again. But seriously, though, we're taking a clean sheet against Dortmund because Omar Marmoush is going to start. He's going to start, and he's going to score early. And he's going to be pulled in the 60th minute to a rousing ovation, a conquering hero who's taking us to unprecedented heights. And Omar Marmoush is going to lead us there in a 1-0 victory on an Omar Marmoush goal. Like you said, Michigan winter is harsh. So is being an Eintracht Frankfurt fan. Even when you're winning, it's never pretty. But Garrett, if it's not pretty, what's it got to be? Gritty. And we know something about grit here in the Motor City. Eintracht Frankfurt knows something about grit. We are going to get it done on the pitch and on the field. We're moving in which direction, Garrett?
Onward, forward down the field.
Forward down that field.
Yes, we've been used to quote another Dan Campbell quote. We've been getting used to eating filet this year, but we've also remembered what it's like to eat fucking moldy bread.
That's right. when you remember what that moldy bread tastes like, that filet tastes so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we've been knocked down, we've been kicked around, but we're going to get back up and we're going to bite some fucking kneecaps on the way. I forgot which team I'm talking about now, but they're both going to do it that weekend. Hey, because we're running the show, can we get some predictions on Lions versus Commanders this weekend?
Well, we have a triple Detroit Sports Saturday, so let's go into this first.
No, don't do all that. Nobody cares about the other ones.
Damn.
I don't even care about them. The only one that matters.
Lions are going to win. The Lions will beat the Commanders. They will advance to the NFC Championship game. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 2 a.m. for our folks in Germany that are watching this. Eddie, it's 1 a.m. in the morning for you in Ireland. And, oh, God, 27-17 Lions.
31-24, Goff to St. Brown. He's going to celebrate in German, too. That's what he's going to do. He's going to roll up to the camera and, throw out some German into the camera for all the friends over in Germany. But no, I'm telling you, it's going to be a good weekend for us personally and our loyalties with Eintracht and the Lions. And we're going to come back next week and we're going to do it all over again. And people are going to have to put up with us Detroiters until they get on here. If they want to talk about another team, they can get here and talk about it. We can have John back and he can talk about the Oh, wait.
Hey, real quick, so Brian doesn't feel left out. Texans Chiefs prediction.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be honest. This is going to be the hardest game for Kansas City in quite a while. Mahomes is well rested. I mean, their guys haven't really played a competitive game in a while. But
3 weeks from today was the last time they all played.
Yep. In a sport where rhythm and routine matters more than maybe any other, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. CJ Stroud is going to have just a major coming out party for Houston. But I think Kansas City wins. I'm going to say 27-17. They pull away late.
Houston has the ability to win. They have the ability to pull it off. They played them hard just before Christmas, before a Tank Dell injury. 27-24, Kansas City. I think as much as we've talked about personally, a Lions-Chiefs Super Bowl may be the factor of what ends the HFPod podcast, Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. Until it's either going to be that or Baltimore Buffalo takes on there. But it'll be fun on there. See, Brian, we're giving you props on there too, before he responds with the Lion King gift in the Discord like he did on Monday. Also, again, sorry, not sorry to all our Minnesota Viking fans that checked this out. So,
and everybody came here listening for Eintracht Frankfurt talk, and we gave him 30 minutes of Detroit. You're more than welcome to come on the podcast and talk football.
You're lucky I don't promote my other Detroit sports podcast avenues on here like I usually tend to.
Give us the rundown.
Okay, fine. So we have Detroit City. We have go to the Majors TV on YouTube or Detroit.themajorsports.com. There's the Detroit City Sportscast, which covers all things in Detroit sports. There is my mugs, the molding video series, which helped inspire Recap the Adler, which is on the Eintracht Frankfurt YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, please, thank you. And then for your Detroit City FC sickos, there's channel 451. Now, ways you can check all of us out. HFPod.com for the website. Chris has got it all, helped get it all redone, nice and pretty, everything on there.
We're not there yet, but we're getting.
Yeah, we're going forward in the right path. Prior episodes, map of where you can find out supporters. What else am I forgetting?
We're going to throw a blog up, and it's going to be open for people to put their thoughts on there.
And then also HFPod on Twitter, HEFPod. We are on Blue Sky. HFPod.bsky.social, I believe, is that. Nathan can drop a screenshot on here and
it's
post.
Linked on the website.
Hell yeah. Eintracht Frankfurt on Instagram. Shout out to Matt in New York, who's may have questionable taste in his football team. Jets. Yankees, yeah, they're all right on there. and yeah, everything on there. Also, shout out as always to producer Nathan for making all the work on here and his incredible hatred of the Chicago Blackhawks. It gives me life. Brian being the mothership on there and dealing with our bullshit. John and Delaware always popping in from time on there, and his insane choice of sports teams and that. And obviously, yeah, Chris, where can folks find you? You have plenty of different options where folks can find you online.
Nope. I am off of the social medias for the most part and absolutely loving it. It is a fantastic freedom. But you can find me on Instagram at Chris on Monroe, and on Peloton, ride with me at C&the-D313. And of course on Discord, that's where all the hate for my clean sheet prediction can be forwarded. So all the links are on havpod.com.
Twitter, Instagram, Discord, GM Comments, Blue Sky, gmcomments.bsky.social. Eintracht Frankfurt, Detroit. You can find us at Detroit SGA on Twitter. Haven't been doing a whole bunch of match day meetup stuff. I mean, let's be honest. Watching at home is very nice and enjoyable. Soon. Be on the lookout if there's anything going on there. We have a couple of different places in mind that we can definitely go to. We might be doing a Blue Sky, but I don't have the motivation. We don't have motivation right now for that. Give me time. But we thank everybody out for checking out another edition of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, both in audio and video form. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe on our Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast YouTube. Hit the like, 5-star rating, review on wherever you check your podcast out, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcast. I don't think they do that in SoundCloud, but in general on that. For Chris in the middle of a snowy and cold Michigan, to Garrett in a not as snowy but definitely cold southeast Michigan, and to everybody else that's checked this out, thank you as always. Until next time, so long, farewell.
Go Lions.
Choose. Forward down all the fields of life. Go fucking Lions. And Fórza SGE.
When you remember what that moldy bread tastes like, that filet tastes so much better. Hey,